You open this door with the key of reason. Beyond it is another dimension, a dimension of truth, a dimension of freedom, a dimension of joy. You're moving into the land of both the ideal and the real, of the possible and the actual. You've just crossed over into the Capitalist Corner.
Where reason meets reality, welcome to the Capitalist Corner.
Welcome, everybody, to the Capitalist Corner. I'm your host, Michael Liebowitz, awaiting the arrival of Senor Pellegrino. He said he will be a tad late, but I don't know exactly what a tad refers to, but hopefully he'll be here soon. Let me think of what else we got going on. Just so you know, we've got merch. It's available. Is it available at the website, Persephone? Just nod yes. So www.thecapitalistcorner.org. I believe we have a new Fuck Kant shirt. Is that right, Persephone? Yes, we do. So you might want to get your hands on that. Also, remember, we love the super chats, super stickers. They go a long way, and we're always very grateful for them. Tomorrow, I'll be releasing an episode of The Rational Egoist on the history of atheism. Friday, I will be debating Professor Michael Huemer on the objectivist ethics. That will be available, should be Friday night on The Rational Egoist. And, of course, today, we also have the Fuck Bullies shirt. Then today at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we have Everyday Ethics on this channel with the new name, The Rational Alternative, and all our shows are available here, and they are also available on Spotify. And please follow us also on Twitch. So there's a lot in the news today. There's this... I got to tell you, I don't even know if these negotiations are happening. I've seen so much conflicting information. The Iranians are going to go. They're not going to go. They're pissed. They're eager to make a deal. Who the hell knows? But Donald Trump says he's unlikely to extend the ceasefire if no deal occurs. I don't know. You can't believe this guy one way or the other. Many people seem to think that this is a good thing for that Trump is unpredictable. He keeps people on edge. The problem is he keeps his allies on edge as well. Evidently, it's J.D. Vance is headed to, where here? To Pakistan today to engage in these negotiations. I don't know. J.D. Vance doesn't seem like a very competent negotiator. Seems just like a chump, opportunistic toady to me. But this Ghalibaf, Iran's parliamentary speaker, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, sent a direct warning to President Donald Trump on X, saying Iran will not accept negotiations with the U.S. while under threat. And then, quote, Trump, by imposing a blockade and violating the ceasefire, seeks, in his view, to turn the negotiating table into a table of surrender or to justify renewed warmongering. He says, we do not accept negotiations under the shadow of threat. And over the past 2 weeks, we have prepared to reveal new cards on the battlefield. I got to tell you, maybe it's my age that's showing, but I'm not a fan of all this posting on X with world leaders and, like they put out memes, they put out ridiculous threats. Personally, I don't think much comes of these negotiations. But maybe everybody's bluffing. So it's hard for me to say. I've got a thermal underneath that is not a bra strap that you're seeing, just so you know. Had I known it was going to show, I would not have worn the thermal. I would have just worn the shirt, but whatever. You know how it goes. Well, maybe you don't. What the hell do I know? Either way, that's what's happening. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the posting on X, for one thing, and I just have no idea whether they're bluffing, whether they're telling the truth. And this is part of the problem when you have a man like Trump in office. I mean, first of all, I don't think really we should be negotiating with the Iranians. When you go to war, the idea should be to win, not to negotiate a deal. The only deal should be we give up, we will step down from power and never bother anybody again. But that's clearly not going to happen. So we're going to get a deal. What the deal is going to be, we don't know. We don't know what's acceptable. We really don't know what the objectives are. And Trump is not a man of strong character. Once he enters into these negotiations with Iran, he's twice bombed them during negotiations. He's claimed that things were negotiated. They claim they weren't. I, of course, have no way of knowing which is accurate and which isn't. I do know that it doesn't seem to me a good negotiating strategy. The main thing to me that seems to be problematic is negotiating with a regime implies that that regime is going to remain in power, unless the negotiations are we will step down, which clearly they have no intention of doing. So that's where that goes. I guess we'll learn more. Persephone, of course, can be looking this stuff up so she can keep us updated of the latest news rather than just dancing along to the music, which she is wont to do while we were on the air. She really kind of, I guess, thinks this job is more about sitting in the background, looking pretty and dancing. But she can get us some information if there's anything new that comes up about this situation. Also, the Iranian government, evidently, a cargo ship was released, or was seized, rather, and the Iran's foreign ministry on Tuesday is denouncing the U.S. Navy's seizure of their cargo ship, and they want it released back immediately. Now, just so everybody knows, if you're unfamiliar with me, I am kidding. Persephone is absolutely wonderful. She's pivotal to the show. Without her, we would be absolutely nowhere because Mark and I are imbeciles when it comes to technology. So I'm only teasing her. Rest assured, if I am breaking your stones, people, I like you. I just hit something and I wish I hadn't. Okay. One of the things that I've heard a lot about is America going in, or American troops. Bonnie Bertrand says, isn't saying no negotiations under threat the same as Iran saying U.S. must surrender? It's possible, Bonnie. That's a valid point, I think. So one of the things I've heard is that the United States wants to go in and retrieve all the uranium that's in Iran. So David Petraeus says that assassinating more of Iran's leadership will not end ongoing issues, while warning against a U.S. ground operation to seize Iran's stockpile of enriched uranium. He says this would be a very, very tall order. It would be exceedingly risky, and the casualties could potentially be quite substantial. But he says that assassinating leaders is not going to bring the issue to a close. Okay, so if assassinating the leaders isn't going to bring it to a close, because they seem to just have leaders that are stepping up, but you don't want to get the excessive casualties that come with a ground invasion, then what are you going to do? This is part of the problem that I've always had, is the lack of the will to actually fight the war, which means that you leave the regime in place, which means if the logic of deterrence is accurate, you then embolden this regime and onlookers around the world who say, okay, yeah, it sucks. Obviously, the U.S. military can obliterate us, but the leadership and the people in the country won't allow it to happen. So why not fuck around if there's no real risk of finding out? That's my take on that. And there's this situation here. I want to find this guy that I had never heard of until this morning. His name is Ahmad Vahidi. Mark is almost there-er, he says. Not just he's almost there, he's almost there-er. Let me give Mark a few minutes before I get into this guy, because I think Mark is really going to want to talk about him. Mark says I like to throw him red meat as it is. So let me just go see if we've got any comments here. We don't. If anybody has any questions, I of course will be happy to answer them. In the meantime, we're going to be talking about is the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, their history and their current leadership, which is not good. It's not good. Jenna Clean with $5. She said she chipped a nail. I hope you didn't chip a nail looking for this program, Jenna Clean. Also, remember, we now are doing a new thing where we have the Saturday edition of the Capitalist Corner. I believe it's going to be at 12 noon Eastern time until Mark gets back from vacation. And when he gets back from vacation, we're going to resume the Self-Made Soul. And he announced on Twitter without telling me that we're going to be doing this book where we're going to be going chapter by chapter. So I guess I have to purchase the book. Persephone's making faces. I don't know. I think she's mad at Mark. Either way, here he is without further ado with his fuck bully beanie on. Mark, what's happening?
You know, just fighting the foot traffic here in Paris, man. They do construction at odd times on the metro, and so the line that I usually take was shut down, so I had to go to Châtelet and walk through the rat race to get here. Not pleasant, and of course it put me off by 10 minutes or so.
It looks like you're laying down on a door. That like a door has been detached.
No, I'm against the
it.
wall. I'm sitting on the bed in our little bedroom here with propped up a little bit with some pillows behind me. Believe it or not, I'm propped up against this wall here. Over here is the door. Over here is the other wall. Over there is the courtyard.
All right, so we're
What happened?
Ian Gilmore. Ian, thank you, because otherwise I would have figured that one out. Ian says it's the angle, so thanks, Ian, for that.
I'll try to make it a little better.
That is better. You've evidently Ian was far more helpful than I thought, because evidently Mark wasn't aware it was the angle until Ian pointed it out. So Ian, I apologize that it seems you did have a valid point.
Hey, Nicole Hingle says I fuck anyone. I got to tell you something, Michael.
She didn't say. It's not what she says. It didn't say you didn't.
Mark, don't I fuck anyone?
Yes, it's a command.
It happened. It happened though. Somebody cut in front of me in Starbucks yesterday. I had to put him in his place. And
by I fucking him, Mark?
I didn't I fuck him. I had to put him in his place. It was pre-I fuck. So anyway, what are you guys talking about?
So you I fucked him after?
I fucked him after. Whatever it did, it got him to get me my.
So you intimidated this guy, and then I fucked him.
Yeah, he was a freak. He was a creep. He deserved it. So tell me what you guys are talking about. Let's not digress anymore.
Okay, we're not going to. We're talking about the current head of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, Ahmad Vahidi. I'm hopeful that you read the articles that I sent you about this guy.
Go ahead. You talk.
Oh. Okay. Evidently, so Ahmad Vahidi was recently elevated to the top of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, which is, of course, the elite paramilitary force within Iran's military. And he's emerging as one of the most powerful men in Iran, and according to analysts, one of the key figures likely deciding whether Tehran resumes fighting or continues talks. He's got a very bloody history. This guy, he's been around since the revolution. He was part of the development of the Quds forces. Any of this ringing a bell?
Of course it is.
Okay. So what I want from you is your thoughts on, because basically what they're saying is by taking out the people that were in place, we've ended up now with this guy at the head of the Guard Corps. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, what they are suggesting is that now that we've taken out, the headliners, the guys who are underneath in this hierarchy happen to be more hardliner ideologically than the people who were above them, and so we have a more entrenched ideological group of people to deal with than we did before. Of course, this is one of those unintended consequences that you and I talked about that was certainly possible in these situations. I think it makes it doubly worse that we are trying to negotiate with these animals. You cannot negotiate with these people. Their ideology forbids it. And, the only way to deal with somebody like this, Michael, is through pure and unadulterated violence. I hate
Yes.
to say it. We're in the position where we have to do that.
So
Anything less, Michael, we lose.
So Vahidi has been a part of the Iran Revolutionary Guard Corps since '79. He commanded the Quds Force from '88. He preceded Qasem Soleimani, the guy that Trump took out a few years back. He was also the defense minister under Ahmadinejad. He pushed the production of conventional weapons, tanks, fighters, planes, missiles, and armed personnel carriers. He's been the interior minister, and he plays a key role in suppressing the recent uprisings that took place over there. He's alleged to have been involved in the '83 Beirut barracks bombing and the 1996 Khobar Towers attack, the 2008 attack on the embassy in Iran. He's been wanted by Interpol since 2007 for participating in a Buenos Aires attack in 1994, and he represented the IRGC in negotiations with the Reagan White House. So according to Claude here, his rise could shape whether Iran moves toward peace or deeper conflict, with some warning his influence makes Tehran less likely to agree to a genuine ceasefire.
Yeah, Michael, we shouldn't be talking with these creeps anyway. Unfortunately, you have to deal with violent, irrational people with violence. And that's it. A guy like this cannot be talked to. He can't be negotiated with. It's silly to do it. He has to be just simply taken out.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I feel like the whole Revolutionary Guard needs to be taken out, to be honest with
Well,
you.
that's where we're going to get to in a few minutes. So Akira Felix says he hates to say it, but he disagrees. This is all blowback theory BS. I don't think it is blowback theory, Akira. Blowback theory is, from what I understand, is that when you do things to countries throughout the world, you end up experiencing blowback. This is saying that by eliminating only the top echelons, we've basically given rise to this guy. This doesn't mean we shouldn't go further and take this guy out and take out, as Mark said, the entire Revolutionary Guard Corps. I do want to talk about the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, Mark. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, only just to kind of set the table, they only report to the supreme leader. They are not under political control. So these negotiators, evidently, and Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, can negotiate all they want. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps does not have to answer. And in fact, recently, after the political wing made the announcement that they were going to open the Straits of Hormuz, the IRGC came out and said, no, the only person who's going to decide that is the supreme leader. And they, proceeded to ramp up attacks.
Yeah, it seems like they have the appearance of two tiers of government. There's the prime minister and there's the supreme leader. The Revolutionary Guard was initially started to protect the revolution against some of these disparate, groups, I guess left-wing groups that were out there. They wanted to protect the revolution, the Islamic Revolution, from any of these influences. And of course, it grew and grew and grew and grew to become the entity that it is now, which, Michael, is a completely independent military entity, the size of a normal army, with the infrastructure of a normal army, and I think a fairly strong secular business base. So it's also extended its tentacles into the economy of Iran. So it's rather essential to the economy of Iran because a high percentage of oil production goes through the IRGC. There's no question in my mind that they are the enemy to be attacked and taken out. I think we've probably eliminated somewhere around 6,000 of the 150,000 people that compose that wing of the military. We certainly have to take care of the rest of them. I do think Akira Felix, you're right in the sense that a lot of this stuff, Trump trying to make a deal with these people only makes them stronger in the eyes.
Well, that's true. Yeah,
in the eyes of their own followers, in the eyes of in their own esteem. they think they're beating us by keeping us on the edge of making a deal with them. And I think the world community probably feels that way too, Michael, even though we've had great military successes there.
So they were established in 79 following the Iranian Revolution. They're a paramilitary force to act as a counterweight to the military. Basically, they were created to protect the revolution, to suppress dissent, and ensure ideological loyalty among the armed forces. They grew during the Iran-Iraq War. They expanded after that. The Quds Force was created to protect power abroad. They support allies in Lebanon, Syria, Iraq. They report directly to Khomeini. So there's also, let me find it here. There's some interesting numbers that I saw that I want to make sure that I talk to you about. You alluded to them a second ago, but I really want to pull them up here. Okay, so the Iranian armed forces, the conventional military has 350,000, including conscripts. The Revolutionary Guard has 150,000 ground forces. The conventional Iranian Navy had 18,000. Now, this was before the war, so I don't know how these numbers are now, but this just should tell you what, the significance of them. So the regular Navy had 18,000. The IRGC Navy has 20,000 plus. The Air Force of the regular, 37,000. The Aerospace Force of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, 15,000. The Air Defense Force, 15,000. The Basij Paramilitary Force, they claim that they have 600,000 people mobilized and ready to go. So I think, that this is who needs to be defeated. I think that needs to be unequivocal, unconditional. The question has to come. Now, assuming if there's negotiations and the war ends and these people are still intact, then the question has to be, was it worth it? Right? Is it worth it if these people are still in power, still intact, and emboldened? Now, obviously, it's Trump. We don't know what he's going to do. He's talked about blowing up all of Iran, and you just don't know what the hell this guy's going to do. But he started off saying it would last 4 to 6 weeks. It's already over 6 weeks, right? So how long does it go? First of all, Mark, I think it's a mistake. You don't enter into a war and say, oh, we'll be done in 4 to 6 weeks. You enter into a war and you say, we are going to win this war no matter what it takes, period. Right? That's it. All this 4 to 6 weeks and, changing objectives and then bragging about opening the strait that was open before you got in, all shitty. So Bonnie Bertrand says they must have bases. Trump had 3.5 months since January 2nd when he told them help is on the way, and he hasn't done it, and he won't because he wants a deal. Well, to me, Mark, that option is gone, right? Like, that's not even part of the discussion any longer, this freedom for the Iranian people. Personally, that would be a collateral benefit, but that should never have been one of the goals anyway, right? We don't go to war so that other people can be free. We go to war to protect ourselves, right? That's not to say I don't want the Iranian people to be free or that it wouldn't be good. But Trump told them help is on the way. All right, I've said enough. Go.
No, I agree with you. And you don't go to war to simply degrade the enemy's capabilities so that, somewhere down the line they can attack you again. You go to war to end the enemy's capabilities, not degrade them, to end them permanently. And then you are, and that would Michael, I'd hate to say, would probably entail regime change to some kind of liberal, secular government. And that would not be our intention. Our intention is just to knock out the enemy for sure. That would certainly be the ancillary benefit of war. But Michael, we don't go to war to beat the enemy anymore. And Trump, who talked tough, took that off the table a long time ago. In his fever to get this fucking deal, he is now allowing the Iranians to win on a PR front across the world. So the speaker for the parliament, who's a douchebag extraordinaire, has said we're not going to go to the table until they take the economic and military pressures off of us. Otherwise, that would be a surrender. Unfortunately for Trump, to take those pressures off, to try to make a deal with them or concede to them in any way is a loss for the United States and a surrender for the United States. The United States now, Michael, is in. And now the real solution is to just simply win. And to win, they have to completely destroy these elements of the regime. The IRGC has to go. Their capacity to wage war has to be completely eliminated, or as close to completely eliminated as possible. And you know what? Blockade the fuck out of them and starve them out until they cannot take, the people cannot take it anymore. That's the solution. Making a deal, Mike, it's compounding this. It's compounding the frustrations probably of the people on the ground, and for us having to watch this circus.
You were done with the rant?
I guess.
You can say more. Don't hold back.
Akira Felix says the people who supported the war wanted this to happen. I don't believe objectivists couldn't foresee the consequences of government overreach. I agree with you. I agree with you.
I don't.
I think they could foresee it. Some of them, like Yaron Brook, could, but they were banking on, Michael. I think they were banking on some form of strength. And or if that didn't happen, they're banking on the fact that he took the war more to the Iranian people than any past administration did, and that was almost enough for them.
Here's the problem that I have with it. It assumes that they knew it would be bad and they wanted it anyway. I don't believe that. Not broadly. I mean, I can't speak for every single person, but the people that I know that supported it, but see that Akira is different than what you originally said. Blinded by hate for Iran is a different argument than they wanted this to happen.
Yeah, I think they wanted the fight to happen. Now, not the fact that we would be mired down now in diplomatic indecision and in a chaotic administration. Although it's not hard to foresee, Michael, that with Trump, it's going to be a chaotic situation.
See, Bonnie says he got rid of Khomeini and that was huge. See, that there I disagree. Not that it's a good thing that this guy's dead, but as far as America achieving its interests, I don't see that as that big of a deal. If he's replaced with the same thing, what difference does it make? I mean, it's like if you go kill bin Laden and then Ayman al-Zawahiri takes over, I mean, it's good that you killed bin Laden, of course, but that doesn't alter the nature of what you're fighting against or that you have to keep fighting.
Yeah, and you can't say just because the command has changed hands that you've actually that there's a sort of regime change or ideological change. There isn't. I mean, it's essentially the regime is the same, with harder line people actually now less inclined to negotiate with us.
So Bonnie says it was a step. See, there I partly agree. It could be a step, but it's not a step if you just stop. Or rather, it's a step with no steps above it taking you anywhere, or no steps below it, however you want to use the analogy. It's just you're stuck standing there, right? So it doesn't do any good if you then don't go the distance, right? Does that make sense to you, Mark?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a great thing that Khomeini was taken out. People have wanted to do it. Western powers have wanted to do it for a long time. This guy's been a thorn in the side of Western powers for decades upon decades. Nobody had the balls to do it. We did it, but so what? He was replaced by somebody else. He's replaced by somebody else who is equally, if not more ideologically inclined towards the same types of actions to the United States. So right now I see no philosophical difference between the people that are changing power right now, Michael. The people at the top still want us dead. They still want Israel dead, and they will still go out of their way to see that achieved.
All right. So do you have anything left to say on this topic, or you want to pivot to the next?
We can pivot to the next one.
Just so, because you weren't here when I first talked about it, the promised or the hoped for, whatever negotiations. Do you have any thoughts on that? The negotiations that are supposed to, might, maybe not take place today
They
in
shouldn't be
Pakistan?
negotiating with them at all. It's stupid. It's beyond stupid. This still adds street cred to Iran and to their regime. It's robs us of the material and military victories that we've achieved over there, and it distracts us from the problem that we need to be focused on right now, which is taking out the IRGC, completely eliminating their capacity to fight at all. Period. And starving them out until the people themselves would literally kill to have somebody else in there.
See this, and look, this is an example. I just want to say, because this is somebody that I like. I've met him in person, really nice guy. He said there was the idea that Iran is not that strong and could be taken out because of how easily the prior action bombing occurred. See, this, I get that people believe this. I just don't know why you would believe it. I don't know why. There's never, as far as I know, been a decisive war or regime change that took place from an air campaign alone. That's the first thing. So, like our friend Andy Bernstein said from the beginning, he wanted to take out Iran, but no ground troops. Right? That's what Andy said. It was pretty clear that the likelihood of ground troops was small, or that people didn't really want ground troops. So that being the case, you're not going to inflict the kind of damage, unless you're talking about something like nuclear, which I don't think there was ever any chance that's going to happen. Right? So you're talking about a serious invasion by the United States military. How people wouldn't know that either that wasn't going to happen, or it was going to lead to results that the American people were not going to be okay with. The evidence is overwhelming for that. So it doesn't mean, I'm not saying that there could never be a just case for war. What I'm saying is that the belief going into this, that it was, so first you had to say it's okay to violate the Constitution or ignore the fact that the Constitution was an issue. That's the first thing. Then you had to be okay with a man of Trump's character leading the war, which is what you have. And then you had to think that this was going to be some easy test, or easy accomplishment, despite what it took in Iraq, despite what it took in Afghanistan. I just don't see how that was the thought, I guess is what I'm saying, Enric. Go ahead.
Mark. I could see how you would think after Israel dismantled so much of Iran's air defensive capabilities in 12 days, how you would think they were a paper tiger. You combine that, Michael, with the diaspora protesting all over the United States and all over the world, you'd think that there was probably a massive popular movement in Iran as well. And you thought a weakened Iran, a popular movement could potentially take advantage of this situation. It seemed like a perfect storm that required just a little bit of wind to topple the tower.
Okay,
and that wasn't the case.
Okay, so my problem with that, Mark, and I get, we've argued and you said that Iran was a paper tiger, and yeah, I get it. However, the idea, for instance, that there was going to be this mass uprising in Iran to establish a government, and many people thought Pahlavi would be the head of it. First of all, Trump said at the outset, no Pahlavi. So that's your first evidence against that potentiality. Next, a little searching, right? What are the components of the opposition? Because the polls said about 90% opposed the regime. But something like 90% of Americans disapprove of Congress. But yet Congress keeps getting reelected. So you have to figure out, well, why is this? What's happening? And a little research would have told anybody interested that the people, the opposition in Iran is made up of vastly disparate groups. Some support Pahlavi, some are nationalists, some are separatists. There's a whole lot of different groups. So you would come to see, okay, the idea that there's going to be this mass uprising ending in a republic, probably not going to happen despite what the diaspora says. So you have that. Then the experts would have told you that getting rid of the regime without ground forces not likely. And this is when we first started this thing. This not you and me. I mean, when the war first started, I knew little to nothing about Iran, about Iranian history, other than, I mean, I knew about the 1980s hostage crisis. I knew about Iran-Contra. I knew about them supporting Hamas and Hezbollah, that type of stuff. But a little research, which I was willing to do, led me to a lot of information that quite straightforwardly was contrary to the type of information I was seeing in my social media feeds. And my point is that if I could do the research, then anybody can.
Yeah, it could be, Michael, that we're, some objectivists, and I can't speak for them, are blinded so much by their dislike of Iran and their sense that Iran is so dangerous and it's sort of the head of the snake of anti-Western Islamicism that they just were salivating at the fact that somebody was finally punching Iran in the face. It's certainly, the regime has deserved that for 50 years. I can speak to that. It was a bit cathartic for me to see Iran getting the regime getting its ass kicked. But by the same token, there are these other things to consider, Michael, the unconstitutionality of it, which enables a chaotic president to stay chaotic. Yeah. He has to be rational when he has to make his case to the American people. And the American people then say yes. It inspires and incentivizes a clear policy going forward. He has to make a clear policy going forward to the American people. And he did not do that. And that's why we're in the midst of this chaotic, rather unfortunate scenario now, Michael. And I don't know if, some of our objectivist friends are going to look back on this even right now and start second guessing whether they think Trump should be at the helm of this ship.
Well, that's true. See, I guess my problem is with what Akira said back here. I want to just find it again here. The people who supported the war wanted this to happen. I don't believe objectivists couldn't foresee the consequences of government overreach. See, to me, that sounds like the people who accused me, for instance, of wanting Iran to win, or of thinking Iran was okay in some way, which was never part of the calculus that I made, right? So to say because they take a position of going to war that this is the result they wanted, not if, like Enric says, they expected something else. What I am saying, what I think, and this is going to be speculation, of course, is I think that an overriding hatred for Iran led to people not really looking into it, not really doing research that would have possibly led to a different conclusion. And I think the dynamic is similar to that of when Andy Bernstein hates the left so bad that he comes to see Trump as a viable alternative, right? I don't like Iran. I can't stand the left. I hated Obama. I still never saw Trump as the guy that was going to fix things or save things. I think Iran is horrible. I think they're an evil regime with an evil ideology. Absolutely. Recognizing that, though, doesn't then prove that violating the Constitution and having Trump lead a war is the right thing to do. Is it making sense?
Total sense.
Am I making sense, Seffi? I found out Persephone likes to be called Seffi.
Seffi,
yeah.
Another name for me to think about. Penelope, Persephone, Seffi. I mean, I'm going to get very confused.
All right. So
speaking of confusion, Michael, are we going to talk about the Federal Reserve?
We are. It was interesting because we could have probably been going to talk about anything else in the world, and you could have said, speaking of confusion, and it would have been a nice segue. So I like that because if you weren't certain, you could have just used that and it would have made it nice. We would have got right in.
Thank you.
All right. So this Kevin Warsh, I hate that name, by the way.
It's not a good name.
No, because it's kind of like Walsh, but not really. So
it doesn't roll off the tongue. It's sort of
Warsh.
harsh.
Yeah, harsh, Warsh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not good.
Horsh. I don't know. Either way, Warsh, He's an American economist, banker, policy figure, best known for his role at the Federal Reserve during one of the most turbulent periods in history. He's been a Fed governor before. He's not a fan of quantitative easing, right? He thinks the Fed should be reined in some ways, challenge the fundamentals of it. There's a problem, though. And that is that he may not get voted in. And the reason he might not get voted in is because they need Republican votes. But Tom Tillis has said he's not voting for this guy until the charges against Powell are dropped. So go ahead.
No, you expand. You might have to expand on this. So, because I only got a little bit of a flavor of this.
Oh, for the love of everything holy.
First of all,
this is Warsh.
Warsh. First of all, Michael, given what Trump wants to do, why would he capture this guy, given what Trump wants to do with the Federal Reserve, which is politicize it? And this guy seems to be not that animal.
I don't know, because his issues with Powell won't keep interest rates low. That's
right,
what
but
he
somebody
wants.
who doesn't believe in quantitative
right. So
easing
I don't know. Now, it might be that he knows this guy, and I mean, I don't have any reason to doubt the guy. I don't know anything about him, but Trump may feel that this guy has no spine and will ultimately kiss his ass. I don't know if that's why. I don't think it's a good idea to be keeping interest rates low. I think Trump is economically illiterate, despite what, all his fanboys and girls think, that he's this genius. I mean, it's so funny to watch in real life, in real time on Twitter, what happens. When Trump announced that the Strait of Hormuz, Iran agreed to open it, they were all going, "Yeah, Trump, look, we told you, you panicked for nothing. Oil prices down, rah, rah, rah." The next day, Iran said, "No, that's not the case. We're not opening it." Oil prices again went up, and you see nothing from these assholes. But their sense of shame is such that it doesn't matter. The next time they get some temporary good news, they'll be out there again saying, "Ha ha, we told you so," and they get millions of followers for it while we're struggling. So maybe we're in the wrong line of work.
Ever thus to tribalist, Liebowitz. That's.
Did you just call me Liebowitz?
I did. You're Liebowitz.
I'll go for Liebowitz, but I'm not the Liebowitz that owes the money. I'll tell you that much. So anyways.
I'm interested in why this is so. I mean, certainly the Department of Justice shouldn't be going after Powell like it is. Seems like a political prosecution, but they're going after him for the reconstruction of the Federal Reserve, right? For the construction overrun, the costs. Aren't they trying to pin?
What Claude does, Persephone? Why does Claude do this? I will ask Claude different questions, then I'll shut it down and ask it a different question, and then I send the links to you guys, and it converts all of them to the same thread. Yeah, you're nodding your head, but why didn't you tell me about that previously? Well, now I know I can't do that. It's been screwing me up. It would have been nice.
What does that mean, Michael? What does that mean?
So I asked Claude a lot of different questions, right, about different topics. The only thing in here now is about Vahidi. All of the links that I sent are about Vahidi, not about the Federal Reserve, the history of the Federal Reserve, nothing, which is all stuff that I asked about, and I don't have that stuff now. So I do, however, well, let's see, maybe this one will do it. No.
Jenna Kleem says excuse number 8, Michael.
It might be excuse number 9. I don't know what it is, and I prefer Maud, by the way.
Jesus.
But anyways, the Federal Reserve basically it was established in 1913 because it was supposed to rein in, all the what the hell is it called now? The business cycle, the booms and busts. And it's got a mandate. It's supposed to both keep prices low and keep employment, or keep prices stable, I should say, and keep
unemployment low.
Employment low, yeah. So, I asked a few different economists that I respect of what did they think about the Federal Reserve. Friedrich Hayek thought that its central control over the money causes rather than prevents economic instability because it enables artificial credit expansion. He said it creates a moral hazard because it acts as a lender of last resort, that it encourages commercial banks to take excessive risks. Ludwig von Mises viewed the Federal Reserve as an engine of inflation and economic disruption, arguing that its power to expand credit, distort interest rates, causes artificial booms, and inevitably leads to severe depressions. And Uncle Milty, and not the one with the but Milton Friedman, who I don't know about. But
not the one with the
Yeah, you know what he's got. Anyway,
I know what he's got.
Milton Friedman was a prominent critic of the Federal Reserve, arguing it caused more harm than good through poor management of the money supply. So, yet we have it. We seem to be stuck with it, and we've got a president who wants to use it as his own weapon to deceive people into thinking that the economy's good. Sound about right to you?
Sounds about right. Never works, but it sounds about right, Michael. It's just kicking the can a little bit down the road. It's going to raise the deficit. It's going to create another boom bust cycle that could. I'm wondering when the final boom bust cycle is going to be, Michael. When's the big bust going to happen that we really can't quite recover from?
I can recover from anything because of who I am as a man. You may not be able to recover. No, okay.
Well,
I don't know.
I don't know if I can.
But we've run out of topics here, mostly because I covered the entire first topic alone because Mark told me he was going to be a tad late. But anyway, I'm not trying to throw Mark under the bus or anything. I'm not that kind of person. But Mark, I'm wondering, there's got to be a topic that we can discuss.
We can discuss anything under the sun.
Okay, I was hoping you were going to introduce a topic, Mark.
Yes, but I don't have a topic.
You just said we could talk about anything under the sun.
We
The
could.
Claude overview, A Brief History of the Federal Reserve, is on the website under recommended reading. So evidently it didn't convert it when I sent it to Persephone for some reason. It's just in mine. Whatever. But what can we talk about? What is there to talk about? Do you want to talk about when we're going to be back on with Self-Made Soul?
Sure. Well, you said I was on vacation. I'm not really on vacation, actually, Michael.
All right. Yeah.
I don't consider this vacation because I am helping my wife teach. I'm doing conventions all around Europe.
Do you enjoy all that stuff?
I do.
You're on vacation.
That's like saying that you working right now is vacation, Michael.
I didn't go anywhere.
Well, if you went somewhere, brought your microphone, and still did the show,
I'd be on vacation.
No, you wouldn't. Not necessarily.
So when I went to San Diego, but
So
I brought my
when-
computer,
when
I
went to
wasn't on
Pittsburgh-
vacation?
When I went to Pittsburgh to work on another show, I was on vacation. When I was in Toronto working on a show, am I on vacation?
No, you're filming. That's your primary career. You're there filming.
Yeah,
so
but
you're
I'm
not
there.
on
I'm in
vacation.
another place. I'm just working in another place. Right now, I'm just working in another place. I would be teaching in Los Angeles. Instead, I'm teaching here in Paris.
Yeah, that's your actual job. You create all these other things. Either way, Maribins wants to know your least favorite alphabet agency. I don't have a least favorite. I hate them all. But I will say this.
I got
the
one.
IRS currently
Yes.
is the one I'm very...
That's the one. The IRS is the absolute worst. And Michael, they do have an enforcement wing, by the way, that can carry guns.
yes.
And what a bunch of accountants are carrying guns? I have no idea, other than to facilitate theft.
I think that we could get. I would like to get rid of the IRS first, but I don't know which. I haven't given it enough thought to think about what would be best to unwind first and in what way. I think we need to get rid of all of them. I think that most, if not all, are unconstitutional. So that's that. What do you think, Mark?
I think all of them are. You say most, but I haven't.
Did you congratulate Megan on her marriage, Mark? I'm just curious.
No, I did not.
Well, you should say congratulations.
Congratulations, Megan, on your marriage.
A little more enthusiasm.
May you live long and prosper.
You're an actor. You could at least pretend.
She did invite me to the wedding, so I could have done a reading there. I could have done anything. I've done it in a million weddings, but she didn't ask me to come.
That's true. I wasn't invited either. Maybe I shouldn't be being so encouraging and generous. I like when I've never even been to a wedding since I was a little kid, so maybe I don't like it. I don't know. I remember being at my mother got remarried, my father got remarried. I didn't really enjoy myself. I was a little kid. Yeah, thank you. I don't really want to go to weddings. That's my new take. Either way,
Weddings are great.
Gratch. Huh?
Weddings are great. What are you talking about?
What do you mean they're great?
I love weddings.
Do you go and drink?
Not anymore. I don't drink anymore, but I can still love a wedding sober. Why not?
Because you're sitting there and it's boring.
It's not boring.
Yeah. Oh,
It's the beginning,
do
it's
you
the beginning
take
of a
such
young
and such?
couple's life.
Oh,
together.
yes. What do you mean? It's not necessarily a young couple. Old people can get
It could be it's the beginning of someone's life together, of two people's lives together. It's a beautiful thing. I love it.
Okay, so Mark is wrong about weddings. I, of course, am right because I dislike them, but I am happy for Megan. Megan is such a nice person, so it's wonderful that she got married. Her ceremony had a treasure hunt, including experiments. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, that sounds like Mark would have fit right in on the experiments in the treasure hunting. He'd have got lost. He'd have been in the back scratching his head, and you guys would have had to send out a search party to find him.
Not true. Not true. I do escape rooms, man. Have you ever done an escape room?
Yeah, I have. And I'm having a hard time believing, unless you went with someone to help.
Of course, I had somebody to help.
Then what difference does it
Wait.
make if you did it?
Everybody goes there with somebody to help. It's a group effort. You can't escape a room by yourself. You need multiple people there because there's hundreds of clues that you have to sort through.
How many of the clues did you solve, by the way?
Several.
How many? Just give us a roundabout.
One.
Out of hundreds.
Hey, there was a brainiac girl there, by the way.
Oh, here we go.
Who solved 90% of them. One
Okay.
person solved 90% of the puzzles.
All right. Were you doing any eye fucking on the...
Tons of eye fucking. That's all I got. So how many puzzles have you solved in your escape rooms, Michael?
I only went to one, and I found it all very confusing.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I'm not, the elephant tail and looking at this and match this, spin it, the light. Oh, no,
Good for your brain. It's really good for your brain. It gets you thinking outside the box. It really
I do
does.
a lot of reading.
Well, reading is good, but so are escape rooms. Good for
Yeah,
your
the
brain.
reading doesn't cost money. Yeah,
You
Mark,
can-
Mark, you
can
need
practice,
to learn.
You can practice virtual escape rooms. And by the way, on my birthday, Michael, I showed you a little bit of the lobby of the zombie apocalypse virtual game.
Can
that
you
we
look at
did.
the definition here?
What? Eye fucking. What does it say? A vulgar slang term for an intense, overly sexual, or highly flirtatious gaze that signals unmistakable desire, often described as undressing someone with your eyes.
Yeah.
Now, Michael, check this out.
That's what you did to the guy you intimidated at
No,
Starbucks?
check this out, Michael. Check this out. Tell me if I'm wrong. You cut in front of me in line. I say you just cut in front of me, dude. You turn around. I fuck you. You mean to tell me you wouldn't be intimidated?
I don't know why you would be giving me I might be intimidated,
Just
but
straight
that's
out
not
answer.
your motivation.
Straight out answer. Would you be intimidated by the eye?
I would
fuck?
be sickened to my stomach.
Yes, you would, and you would get away from me. You'd get out of the line, which is exactly
I'd call
what
the
this guy
police
did.
and I'd say this guy's a sicko. But
And-
what does
and
that have to do
meanwhile,
with you doing it?
Meanwhile, I'm telling you, it's even more frightening than giving somebody, the hard whatever.
So the hard what?
the tough guy scare, the thing.
Either way, you're giving somebody intense, overtly sexual, flirtatious gaze
And scaring the fuck out of them, man.
But that's
I'm-
not your intention
I'm-
when you do it.
Of course it is. There's no distinction between sex and war, buddy. There isn't. Let's go on.
Oh my god! All right.
Did I get something from Persephone on that? Is she like this?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So, Mike,
right.
we've lost the complete thread of Capitalist Corner.
We have. I'm just going to tell you something, how much I love this internet. So the other day I Googled, as a kid, I used to play Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. So I Googled play Mike Tyson's Punch-Out on my phone. It comes up. I was able to play Mike Tyson's Punch-Out on my phone.
And what exactly is Mike Tyson's Punch-Out?
It's a Nintendo game.
It is.
Yeah.
Where you play Mike Tyson, he just punch people.
No, you got to make it through. You fight a lot of different people. You start with Glass Joe, and you go all the way up. And the last guy you fight is Mike Tyson. I was the first kid when I was a kid. I was the first one to beat him. So everybody was very impressed. It's something I am very impressed about to this day. All right. So what else? I wanted to tell you something now, and I'm trying to think about what it is, or maybe I just want to make something up. Either way, we've told you we're not going to be here Thursday or Friday. Thursday, I'm going to New York. Friday, I've got the debate with Humor. That should be great. I can't wait to do that. Can't wait to release it. I've debated him before, but I'm looking forward to this one especially. Yeah, that'll be fun. What else you got, Mark? You got
Thursday,
anything?
yeah, Thursday, I'm going to be going to Portugal. So I will be in Portugal from Thursday until Tuesday. I've got a convention over there in Porto. There's also an Ayn Rand convention over there, Ocon convention.
Porto?
In Porto, Portugal, yes. It'll be going on at the exact same time that I'm there doing a convention, a Comic-Con.
All right. So, but you're going to be here tomorrow.
I will be here tomorrow. I might be a tad late again because I'm going to be going to jiu-jitsu. And unfortunately, the jiu-jitsu is, in this pocket time, and I have to come all the way from La Défense to get
Okay.
there.
All right. So, just so everybody knows, this Saturday, Persephone and I will once again be doing our special Saturday edition of Capitalist Corner. We will be addressing self-interest. Rational self-interest will be the topic. Also, we've got Everyday Ethics today, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And Wednesdays and Thursdays, we also have, but not this Thursday, we're going to do a Friday, Crime, Corrections, and Culture. And Mark's going to be helping us promote all this stuff really soon. He's promised he's going to be making commercials.
Wait a minute. Ayn Rand Con Porto was last weekend?
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't surprise anybody that you're confused. But either way, yeah, so Mark is going to be making commercials for us, which we're in dire need of.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. I will try to get to that.
All right. And Mark is going to give it. Oh, wait. First, we got to do the capitals. What? What's the problem?
Well, after you get the question, I want to ask a question one time.
Okay, you can do that, but you also have to do the capitalist thought of the day.
Okay.
All right. Let's see here. Oh, wow. We got a lot of comments here. What is your favorite book was the question. Cyrano de Bergerac from Robert Nasr. The Hogfather is Jenna Clemes, but nonfiction, Buddhist Boot Camp. Fiction from Akira Felix, The Fountainhead. Nonfiction, The Virtuous Selfishness. Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
For a movie, that's a movie.
All right, I don't know what this is.
Did somebody say? Is there a book, Tucker and Dale versus Evil? Because that's actually a horror comedy movie.
All right, and that's it. I don't know what it is, but it's up to you now to knock it out of the park.
But what did you asked a question? What's your favorite book? And somebody said Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Yeah, it says that's her favorite comedy.
Oh, comedy.
And she loves too many books to pick a favorite.
Oh, Michael, I was going to recommend a bunch of comedies to you, by the way. You should see anything by Christopher Guest. Have you watched? Or Rob Reiner has done some great comedy. Have you ever seen Spinal Tap?
I have not.
Have you seen Best in Show, or A Mighty Wind, or what was the one he did about the play Waiting for Guffman? Have you seen Waiting for Guffman?
No.
All great comedies. If you want to see a great horror comedy, you should see What They Do in the Shadows.
They eye fuck. All right, give us a.
I'm telling you, all of those movies will make you laugh.
Okay, capitalist thought of the day and a question.
Capitalist thought of the day, yes, folks. Look, in a capitalist society, the government would be restrained by the Constitution, right? So the president would not be able to go to war without getting the consent of the representatives of the people, and that would force the executive to have a clean, clear policy going into the war, which would likely lead to actually making the enemy surrender, which is, I guess, now no longer possible, folks, in modern warfare. But a capitalist society wouldn't be a pacifist one, but would, when it went to war, it would certainly go to war with the purpose of ending any threat to its people. And Michael, that kind of decisiveness and clarity is exactly what we need in the world today. And I think other bad actors in the world would see that and probably be inclined to stand down. So a capitalist society would certainly make us a lot better because of its moral clarity. I guess the question, Michael, that I have today is, do you think that we should go ahead and really take it to Iran, or continue with this negotiation cycle that we're doing now? Which way do you think we should go? Should we go all in, or keep feigning like we're going to negotiate with people who shouldn't be negotiated with? Please answer that question on YouTube, and please, because it'll give us a good algorithm lift, right? Okay. Okay, good. All right. So, Michael, do you have anything else to say before I take us out with the?
Just, I love you guys, Persephone and Mark, and the whole audience. Love you all.
Yeah, thanks, guys, for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe to this channel. Please share it across social media platforms, because we think this message has to get out there to people, you know. And you got 23 hours to check your premises, so please do that, man. Check your premises. Peace.